Rolling.
Misty, how you doing? It's good to see you. Come on into the Muscle Museum. This was a sign that my son-in-law made for me, showing the logo for the Muscle Museum Forum, which was our newsletter that we produced for 8 years. And we kind of liked it and put it up here as part of the Muscle Museum. So come on in.
Which son-in-law would that be?
That would be your husband. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Jimmy Atkinson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Handsome man, yes.
Yes. So come on in, and we'll shut that door. I think we'll start perhaps over here, and then work our way around, if that's okay. This one's kind of important if you can get this, because this is a plaque that I made some years ago, and on it are the names and locations of a lot of the people that have helped me with the museum over the years. This little dumbbells is antique, so it's authentic. And it says up here, the Muscle Museum wishes to thank the following for their contribution and support. And I did that apparently in 1990. I'd forgotten that. Up above that is a picture of John Gremick, the very famous John Gremick, Mr. America, Mr. Universe, and everything else, sitting next to this fellow here. And this was at one of the early AOBS meetings, I think in 90, perhaps 96. I think it was the year or 2 years before he died. So I went up there to that meeting particularly to see him. I was very anxious to meet him, and it was a joy, and he signed it for me. Down here is a Professor Inch from England. This is a wall chart showing various cable exercises done with his machine. It's a very old chart, Professor Inch's perfect system. This we can go through perhaps later. This has always been a work in progress, so I have a lot of things that I just don't have room for on the walls, and these are some of the things. So at least we can go through these and see the various pictures. This was an early strength and variety show that Alton and Marge Eliason, my very good friends, put on back in 1950, so it was one of the early bodybuilding shows, especially on the East Coast. And there's Big John again. This is his famous pose on the pillars, a very classic pose. And I have another one over there that I'll show you later.
What year would that have been?
This would have probably been in the late 40s, probably before the Mr. USA when he was at his biggest. So he's good here, but not as big as he later became, perhaps. And some various things over the years that we haven't had an opportunity to. This is another show, great strength physical culture display. This is another one that Alton put. And
I don't think I've seen that.
yeah, these are some
That's cool.
ones. This is one from 1956, when physique contests were getting a little bit more common, and so on. And I won't go through all those. But this one in the back is a blow up of an ad that Professor Titus did. This would probably been in the 30s, and it was a newspaper ad apparently from the Folds, advertising his mail order bodybuilding course. On the walls now back here, we can show you just a few of the photographs that we have. This is a painting that was done of Steve Reeves. I have no idea who did the painting or who the person is, but was able to obtain that, and I think it's quite a good one. Some more pictures of Steve Reeves down here. This is a statue that they made of Sergio Oliva. On my suggestion, as a way to make a little money, they made up that statue. Niels Anderson out in California made that up, and they kindly gave me one since I gave them the idea.
And Steve Reeves was?
Steve Reeves was Mr. America, Mr. Universe, all that kind of thing, made all the movies. Up here is a trophy that we used in our contest that I particularly like. It's the very famous David statue, but a little more muscle on him. And these are some pictures that Jim Anderson did. He's the one that does all the artwork for the AOBS. He's a wonderful physique artist. This picture of me with Bill Pearl at one of the trade shows in Orlando. Going back down here, you have Big John. This is the same picture. This is an older one. This is a check from John Gremick that I got out of an estate thing. It's a $10 check for some pictures that were made. Some of the gym pictures, Sig Klein's gym. This is the gym up in South Carolina. What's the one, the hotel up there, the place where we went recently. What was its name?
Vanderbilt.
Biltmore. Yeah, that's it. This is a picture of the old York gym with Bob Hoffman and George Jowett, Steve Stanko, Johnny Bernick, and all the gang there in the old York gym. This is the Orlando gym, the Orange Street gym that Milo Steinborn had. And there's Milo and his two sons. They were wrestlers, and this shows the gym. That gym lasted from 1948, I believe, up until just after the turn of the century, so it was there for quite a while. I used to go in there, and it was just nice to go through and see all the old equipment, even though it had gone through several owners by then. This is an old gym up in Canada, done in the 1920s. You can see all the globe. Can you get that close enough to be able to see that? In Klein's gym. This is Key Gym. This is my gym back in '72 when we opened, showing some of the equipment that we had. It was an early Nautilus, piece of Nautilus equipment that was quite high tech in those days, because they were just starting out with their business. This is a Saxon system chart that George Jowett did, showing exercises, and Saxon doing the exercises. This was taken actually from Saxon's book, which he didn't write, and Jowett had nothing to do really with Saxon, but he used the name long after Saxon was dead. Another one of Gremic blow up there. These are a few of my wooden dumbbells. You can see that at various sizes, goes from half a pound or so up to 4 pounds. The 4-pounders are pretty big. It takes a lot of wood to make a 4-pound dumbbell. And I've seen them up to 7 pounds. That's as heavy as I've ever seen them. This is a bench that's typical of the 1960s when everything was chrome plated. And I got this out of a gym that went out of business when I had my gym. And we used it in the gym for some years, and it's held up very well. It's solid steel rather than the type of tubing that they use today. And this barbell here, I'll go into a little later when I talk about the Milo barbells. This is a box that the York Big 12 set came in. That was the shipping box. It has rope handles, has a latch, folds down, and what you did when you finished with your equipment, it gave you a place to store it as well as a shipping container. As far as I know, that's the only one that exists, because they just didn't last. But
how did you acquire that?
Reuben Weaver up in Virginia had gotten it from somebody, and he got the barbells and everything, and I was just interested in the box, and so we did a little trade.
Good old Reuben.
Yeah. These they were called wands, and back in the turn of the century, these were used for stretching exercises like a barbell, just like, and so on. And they're very light and all, but I think they're gorgeous. I think they look really nice with the wooden dumbbells.
When did you get that?
eBay.
When?
Yeah.
When?
Oh, I've had those for a while. In fact, these are the only two I've ever seen on eBay. I was able to get them.
I don't remember those.
This is a wall pulley machine that was very common in gyms up into probably the 50s, the 1950s. You just grabbed one hand and you did the various exercises. You see the weight stacks down below. They usually were very light weight stacks, 10 or 15 pounds or so total. But you just flip the little lever to adjust. It was one of the first adjustable weight stacks.
Rather than a pin, it's a lever
Yeah,
that kind
little
of
lever.
grabs.
Yeah, and you just switch over to whichever one you want. Wooden pulleys. And Joe Roark, my friend Joe Roark, gave me those, and I love them very much. They're one of the highlights of my gym, I think. Sort of a centerpiece. This is a Eugen Sandow set of bells. This is probably from the 1920s. And it's in really good shape, says Sandow right there. So you had a dumbbell on each side, and you also had the expander in between. And up above here you see some Sando wall charts. This showing the various exercises you do with the various machines. This one is with this particular device, as a matter of fact, and the dumbbells as well. It shows the dumbbells up above. So he primarily taught use of expanders like this and light dumbbells. That's Eugen up there, and the guy demonstrating them is one of his students, I assume. Then over next door is another Sando one. This again is with a cable set, very similar to this one here, and as you to see the various exercises. This one unfortunately doesn't have a picture of Eugen on it. Don't know why, but that's a kind of a neat thing, of course. And again, that's probably that's probably a little earlier. That might have been in the teens somewhere. This is interesting. This is my Milo rack. It shows the various Milo barbells and types. The first one up here is not a Milo. This is the only one that's something else. We don't know who made this one, but as I recall, it weighs about 40 pounds. And interesting thing right here in this picture that was taken in 1940. There's Alton Eliasson watching Turpak Turpak here and Terlazzo here doing some lifting in his gym in Rhode Island. There's Alton there. And you see here right at the feet is a little barbell. And when Alton came through to see the place, I asked him about it, and he says, I think I still have that. And I said, well, I would, if you put my name on it, I'd love to buy it from you. And when the time came, he brought it down to one of the ALBS meetings, and I got it, brought it back on the airplane with me, and it's that actual bell right here.
Stop. That's the same exact.
Same one.
Dad, you've got to be kidding me.
That's kind of a neat thing. This is the old Milo barbell, what would you say, display room, I suppose, showing all the various kinds of barbells that they made.
They had a showroom that you could come in
Yeah, absolutely. Showed the various kinds of bells that they made, from the plate loading to the globes. So that shows what it actually looked like. Looks like through that window, that's probably part of the factory over there that they made some of the components and put them together. So getting down here, this little bell here we were talking about, that's a picture that I got showing a fella using the same. Oh, actually, this one. That's right. This is the Milo triplex right here. Shows him lifting that, and it's apparently an army picture. That looks like a barracks, and it looks like he's probably a military guy. So this was probably taken maybe in the 1930s. The Milo bells here in this rack. The rack was built by one of my gym members many years ago, and
Who's
it
that?
worked out very well. Don't remember. As a matter of fact, wish I had. I did, but I think we traded some membership for it, and he put that together. Very nice. So up here is all the kettlebells. I mean, not kettlebells, Indian clubs, pardon me, and various sizes from half a pound up to, I think the largest one I have here is 6 pounds. They made them somewhat larger, but they're extremely rare. The heavier they get. These are 7 pounds, so 7 is the highest.
And why did they make them in that shape?
It came from India, hence the name Indian clubs,
Right.
and that's the way they always made them, and they used them, kind of like dumbbells, and swinging, this sort of rhythmic swinging exercise that they did, and they were, some of those guys were pretty strong. So this is a Milo triplex. This has a 7.5-inch globe, and was made probably about 1912, we think, by the design here. This is the very rare small size. I don't know of another one, as a matter of fact. Extremely rare, the small globes. It only weighed up to about 100 pounds. And the weights went inside here. This came off, and the weights went inside. And then this you opened up, and this is hollow. You could fill that with shot or some kind of sand or rocks or whatever to make it heavier as your base weight. So it was a very nicely designed piece, because you could, by using this, you could increase it or decrease it by just a few ounces. and then the plates went in over here. You can see the way the plates are designed. If you look down here, this is the large size duplex, and this shows how the plates were arranged, as you can see, to go inside the globe. Then the second one, this is the regular size Milo duplex, or triplex, excuse me. And these came in, this was probably a little later, probably about 1917. We can tell by the shape of the collar and the positions of the various things that we still have some of the catalogs, and we're able to research that. Again, you had shot inside here, plates went in the outside. This is a dumbbell version, same thing, showing how the dumbbells were put together. And then like this, you would have the plates on the outside. So what you got was a bar and a short bar and a pair of globes that came in 4 pieces and they fit together. Then in 1916 they went to the duplex, which was different from the triplex in that it had only plates, as we saw in that dumbbell over there. This was hollow. There were no shot or sand or anything used in those. They were designed for plates. So this is the standard size one, the duplex, and this is the large one. This is another large one set up as a dumbbell. And then those are the plates that would have gone inside. They go up to about 220 pounds. This is a kettlebell handle for one. This again shows the plates. In fact, these plates actually went in this dumbbell. So that shows how they were arranged. Then they had various kettlebell handles. You see one here. And then inside is an old solid kettlebell. That's not a Milo, but that's that one down there. Very heavy. Solid. And okay. One of the things that I really enjoy are these little dumbbells. There were so many different configurations of them. And these are unusual. I have a couple of pair of these that have wooden handles and iron ends. And they're little guys, 3 or 4 pounds, but I like them. This is probably Narragansett Machine Company, which is a company that made a lot of the wooden dumbbells and the Indian clubs in the early days. And this is a shipping tag from Milo Barbell System. Going to Muscle Museum, I put that in there. That's something that's fairly rare. Let's see. This is the key that fits into the ends to unscrew the tabs. This is made actually for the duplex, but so it doesn't fit these in the different sizes. Okay. Let's see. Going over here, I have some more wooden dumbbells. Dave Hartnett gave me these. He'd come down to visit and he picked up several different sizes of these, and they're kind of cool. Somebody had painted them silver on the ends. That probably was a repaint.
There we go.
Yeah. And this one here is kind of interesting. This was a Hercules Club. It looks like an Indian club, but it has the advantage of adjustability. So when you pull it up like that and you use it to leverage, then it's more difficult. And this is an iron piece at the end that is removable. This one has a patent of March 2nd, 1887. Nope, 97. Right there. Can you get that?
Let's see.
Yeah. And it's called the Hercules Club. Kind of a neat piece. You don't see too many of these around.
Who would know what it is?
Yeah, that's true too. You see it on for sale sometimes, and the people don't realize what it is. This guy's not going to go back in.
That's what you call a good day of
Yeah, you can find something like
hunting.
that. Absolutely. Now, moving over here, I think I covered all of these. This one here is kind of a prize. I got this from Mike Fair out in California. And this is a very old French barbell. I'll get out of the way and you can probably see it better. It's about a 5-foot bar And as I recall, it weighs about 65 pounds. It's totally shot loaded. It has a plug here at the end, and you load your shot in and out of each end. But we've never seen this shape, we call it a teardrop, in any pictures or anywhere, but we know that it's French, and we know that it came over in the early part of the 20th century and into New Orleans in the beginning, and then was willed down to, I think, a nephew, moved to California, ended up in California, and I got it from Mike out there, and I treasure that a lot. It's a fine piece. Has a little bit of a bend to it, and I considered straightening out and decided not to. I think we'll just leave it. It has character. Okay, in here, can you get this with the light? How about that better? This shows some various things. These are jowlet fulcrum bells. These were used, you move them along the stick to make it
Gosh, you've had that forever,
yes.
haven't you?
Got these
That
back
was
in the
one of-
50s. You remember that? I mean, that's when it was built, and I got it probably in the
80s?
70s,
Yeah.
80s.
That was one of your first.
One of my first, you're right, you
Collectible,
remember that,
yeah.
because I got this along with a Burr barbell set, and I kept them both all the years in the Burr barbell set I have out in the gym. This is neat, and this is then the dumbbells. This was the original design. Then when the war came along and they couldn't get iron, they made these that had wooden plates on them that moved up and down. Then after the war was over, they didn't go back to the dumbbells as they were supposed to, but they kept this design and used iron plates, which made them a little bit better, but it was still a bit of a gimmick. But the main thing was that anything to get the people exercising, I guess, had its positive effect. This is a page from one of the courses that went with the dumbbells or the lever bells. When they changed to the lever bells, all they did is airbrushed out the dumbbells and drew in the fulcrum bells. This one, kind of interesting. This is the patent drawings for this pair of dumbbells. And you can see it's June 1928. So these were copied quite a bit. You can see over here some copies that were made later. These are the York ones, and these are the Weider ones. These are very early design in the Weider ones that were heavier and much rarer because they didn't make these very long. This was the second one that they went into. And some other things here, some interesting pieces here. We talked about Eugen Sandow, and here's another set of his cables. These were earlier, and these had the springs on them as well. So you had the gripping springs, the heaviness of the dumbbell, and the expanding springs. So these are quite rare, and they say Sandow on them. So these may be from the late 1800s. One of their earlier designs. Down below here in these notebooks, you might be able to get those. These are all the over on that side are the barbell companies, York and Weider and all these. These are catalogs and advertising and so on from those companies. And then on this side are the mail order muscle building courses, the actual courses from starting over here. You can see here Lionel Strongfort. He was one of the first. He started in about 1898 with a mail order course that you got lessons every week and you did them. Then you had the Strongfort Advanced course, which was with barbells. These were with small dumbbells. Dumbbells. These are the dumbbells that went with it. And I have a couple of different examples of those. Then you had Earl Lederman, who was one of the early ones, and his were expander courses. Then he had an advanced course as well with barbells, so we have that. This is Joe Bonomo, who was a silent movie guy, and he also was a strongman, friend of Charles Atlas, and he had a mail order course in the 30s. Charles Atlas course, of course. This one is my original course from 1954, and I have my measurements on there. I won't show that. This is the Jowett courses, the various different kinds of courses that Jowett had, with the lever bells and the dumbbells and the freehand exercises as well. And this is an English version of that. And then over there again is the Milo and York and Weider catalogs and so on. Good and Jackson. And in here some of the ladies' bells. This was Betty Weider's
Original
dumbbells.
colors?
Yeah, original colors with the with the shoes. And then this one was by Healthways, nice pink and blue colors. This here was Sandow. This was from the 1920s. This was his dumbbell that when you squeezed it, it rang a bell. We call them ringers. So that you could tell when you're squeezing it far enough because it rang a little bell. And this is the box it came in, and another. This was the child size.
Teen size?
Yeah. This is a mold, or a thing to make a mold.
Oh.
You put this into the sand and made the impression, then you poured the molten iron into the sand to make the size and so on. Another one of those here. This is kind of neat. This made the whole dumbbell. So you put both these in here and poured them in, and you had your dumbbell. These go way back. These are probably 1920s maybe. Okay, up there is another large shot-loaded hollow dumbbell. This is a Saxon dumbbell. This is very rare. It's the only one we know of.
Those are
we kind of
different
treasure
ends on there.
different ends. These
Just
neither
grab 'em
are
and
the
unscrew 'em,
original
or-
ends. I just I like these, and I only had one, so we left it at that. Yeah, that's a good point. This is some. You can't see this very well, but some of the pictures of Sandow's gym in here.
Oh yeah.
In the stereoscope.
See 'em.
Yeah, you can see them.
Neat.
Dave Landau down in Miami made those up as copies of ones that he had. Statues, Sig Klein's gym, going down and over here. My favorite Hercules statue. This is a modern one, but I just particularly like this one. It's the nicest big one I've seen. Some little toy weightlifters there that we've accumulated over the years. Barry Roshka was kind enough to give me several of these, and I really appreciate those. Some unusual plates. This is a Weider design from the 1950s. It included a collar and a plate together. Well, what the deal was, I really don't know. But I thought they were interesting. This is use my back. This is a multi-machine. It's very similar. There's one modern design over here, and this one has a patent date on it of 1900. I believe it says 05. So that goes way back. That's called a Schmidt Machine. Adrian Schmidt was a strongman, but a very small guy. Was able to chin himself with one finger, actually, in a chain, pinch grip a chain, and pull himself up. Very strong fellow. This was invented by Jowett. This is the seat of health. It folds up and goes into a little carrying case so you can take it with you. And I guess we're about ready for a pause. And we'll just leave it at that. All right. These are the cases for the books and magazines at my strength library. Working down from up the top, that's Milo Steinborn up there. This is a really cool picture of him that was given to a friend of ours, and he was kind enough to give it to us. That's George is a good friend from Fort Lauderdale. George Schumacher gave me that, and I appreciate it very much. This is a advertisement in the Policeman's Gazette of the first bodybuilding contest we know of in the United States. And I'm trying to remember the date. It's up the top. Can you read that, Mist? 1900 something. Can you read up the top there?
I'm looking.
Anyway.
Police Gazette Physical Culture Contest.
Yeah, I think it's '08 or something like that. Anyway, they sent their pictures in. And
April 19, 1902.
Oh, '02. Okay. So this was the first contest we know of, bodybuilding contest in the United States. Sando had an earlier one, I believe in '98. But this was the first one here in the U.S. Just some pictures and various. This is my guy, Bernard McFadden. This is a picture that have his autograph down here. A really nice picture of him. Charlie Atlas there, which is, I think, a great picture of him as well. Looks very healthy. This is probably taken, I'd say, in the 1930s. Pretty husky there, and looks good. The books on this side, these are the older books up on this shelf. Some of them going back to the 1800s. We have just quite a variety of most of the books on physical culture that I'm familiar with. These are 3 versions of McFadden's encyclopedia. This one was a 1912 version, which was the first one. Then it went 1924, and then in the 30s, late 30s, they came out with the Encyclopedia of Health. Changed the name a little bit. And below that are all bound volumes of the various muscle magazines, Iron Man. All of the light-colored tan ones are Strength and Health. That's the whole series up to 1960. And after that, the blue ones down there are Muscular Development, the first 6 years of that. So that would be from 1964 starting. This is, we didn't talk about the Schmidt Machine much, but they'll demonstrate it.
Okay.
You got on it like this.
Did you have to be small? Was it made smaller?
Not really.
Because he was so small?
You lift it up just a short range was the idea. And then when you put it back down, it moves on the wheel so that the ball moves away from you each rep to make it stronger, to make it actually heavier for each rep. That was the big high-tech mechanical thing for the time.
Quite the engineer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was a brilliant guy. And the book, I have the book of instruction that he did the actual drawings and everything. Very good drawings. This back here is very rare. This is a mock-up of a Klein bell, which came out in the 1930s, and Sig Klein developed it, and it was a dumbbell and barbell combination. You can be put together. And the dumbbells here are actually appropriate to the design. The rest of them we've tried to copy as close as we can. This is an old barbell from Dr. Anthony Barker. You'll see if we can switch over here the course. Professor Barker's course, there's 2 of them, and that shows the same bell being lifted by Warren Travis, very famous strongman. So this is one of the actual bells. This unscrewed and the shot went into each side and you load it back up. Quite a feat to get it all done. It's a very simple design, but apparently they sold a lot of them. Various books here. The more modern ones down on the bottom shelf, sort of going somewhat chronologically. Most of the American published physical culture books that I know of, we have here examples of them. Bill Pearl statue. This was from his from the contests that are held up in Oregon in his honor. Every year they have a Bill Pearl bodybuilding contest, and these are the trophies they give, and this is actually Bill. Some Sando pictures, and George Jowett, and Sig Klein. Some more expanders we have here. Charlie Atlas. This was made for the book that came out with the biography of Charlie Atlas. And my other daughter, Michelle, was in Tallahassee at the time going to college, and she talked the bookstore into giving her this. She gave it to me for Father's Day one year. We treasure Charlie. And that clock, would you please picture that clock?
It's open again?
It's open again.
Oh, since when?
I don't know. Okay, we don't want to dwell on that. Oh, I want to show this is my protein powder. This is the last existing bottle that I know of. It's pretty beat up, but this was the protein powder that I sold for several years and sold to gyms, and we had a whole line of vitamins and protein powders under our key logo, which was a very neat part of my life. This here is my dear friend in Hawaii, Kawashima, and that's his wife who passed on some years ago, Dot. He's a guy that taught me everything, and I treasure his friendship very much. And that's just about it, Misty. I think what we could do is perhaps go out into the gym for a quick run around the gym, show you some of that equipment out there, and we'll do it. So we can click it. Whoops, we did forget one thing. This is a Milo plate-loaded barbell, the only one we know of in existence, as a matter of fact. There must be other ones out there, but I've never seen them or heard about them. And this was actually a modification by George Jowett when he was working in 1924, when he was working for Milo. It's a very simple pipe bar with rounded, edged, pancake-type plates, very much like you see today. Very thin plates. That's the dumbbell bar. These are the kettlebells. And that's the barbell. So
Pretty.
it's kind of a neat piece.
Attractive.
Yeah. Oh, and this one here is a 1940s Victory Barbell, or actually that's a swing bell. And you'll notice the longer bar for the swing bell. And York made these when they couldn't get the iron plates. So the larger sizes, 10 pounds and above, were made with concrete, and they call them composite. They were concrete. And those are the only ones I know of. I don't know anyone else that has those. So let's go out in the gym, take a look out there. About ready to go out into the Muscle Museum gym. Another sign by the very professional Jimmy Atkinson, Mike's Gym. And the deer horns up above were that fellow was taken by my dad probably 60 years ago. This is the gym. It's set up so that you can open it totally. All screens on the outside with the windows so it can be a screen, or we can close it in inclement weather, which we do get in St. Augustine from time to time. Just a quick review of what we have out here. Starting here, this is a Jackson curl bar. This is the only one we know of. I don't know of anybody else that has one of these. Very much like the York bar, except that it has the knurled handles. So those can be held that way. The collars are the squeeze-type Jackson collars. The rack is a modern rack, as are the rubber plates. I like using the rubber plates for my Olympic bars. This is a 1948 version of the York squat stands, and the little short bar in here we just have as a warm-up bar with pancake plates, thin pancake plates. Moving over here, the rack, various things, mostly York pancakes with some mixture of Vic Tannies, which I like because they're very, very thin. It's a California type pancake plate. The York WW rack. This one is the heavier duty one, the later model in the mid 80s. And this would be a good idea. Maybe I'll close the door.
Sure.
Just noise. Okay. As I say, the rack was made in the mid 80s, and it's different from the early ones in that it has the 1-inch holes, or 1 1/8 inch holes for the big pins to go in. Make it a little heavier duty rack. There's more space between here, 14 inches, so there's plenty of room for 2 benches and squats. Top to bottom, this is an Evanco power bar, which is just their Olympic bar, cut down on the ends to 1 1/16. These fit my Iron Master Osmo Kila Iron Master globes perfectly. These very heavy looking globes actually aren't that heavy. They're made out of very thick aluminum. So this whole thing only weighs about 75 pounds. But I like it for pressing because it looks like more weight than it is. This is a cut down Olympic bar that I like. I bought the Olympic bar of some kind of generic Olympic bar. I liked it because of the thickness, and used the Dan Lurie collars on it. Had it cut down 1 1/16" for my exercise plates. This is a Jackson, 5-foot Jackson, a little over 5 feet long. And I have the Jackson plates down below over there. This Jackson bar was one of 2 that Andy Jackson actually used. Ruben Weaver has the other one, and he was kind enough to swap me for this one. I'm very fond of it. An old York bar that we cut down the length of the bar to 6 feet up here with the old deep dish York plates that everybody loves. And that's a Dave Draper top squat right there for squatting, which I like very much. That's a Simcoe bar with the Weider plates. Up above that is a Jackson Olympic bar, the number 5, the chrome one, you can see with the red collars. That's his number 5 Olympic bar. It has a narrower sleeve. It's only an 1 5/16" sleeve, so it fits special plates rather than the Olympic ones. Down here are the plates for the number 5, and those are the exercise plates, and then the regular Olympic plates are on the back. So I do, a lot of my work from this rack. It's a very handy rack. This is an old York multi-purpose bench, as is that one. That's the flat bench. And this is a thick bar that I like with my good plates. Back here is a rack that was made by Rafael Guerrero. Rafael's an old dear friend of mine who used to do the Gold Coast gym equipment. He had the Gold Coast gyms and the Mr. Gold Coast contest down in South Florida for many, many years. He built the rack, and I liked it so much that he finally gave it to me. Thanks very much, Raphael. As you see, it's a very sturdy wooden rack, nice for my Moore squat bar, which I use for calf raises, and also the plates on the back of there. Over here is various bars. This is an old early 1950s 6-foot York exercise bar. This is a York power bar that I made from a York powerlifting bar by cutting the ends off, and can use some of the plates on that. There's a 2-inch thick bar back here that I made with the York dumbbells there, the York Olympic dumbbells. This is an early Weider, 1950s, their version of a Schmidt Machine. Not the finest of.
When did you acquire that?
Not very, very recently, about a year ago. Mr. Aman, who's a good friend of mine from Iron History, provided that for me, and I just like it. I don't use it, but I think it just adds some
Character here.
Yeah,
that's
character,
for sure.
exactly. Yeah. This is a burr, complete burr set from the early 50s. This is my burr bell set, which was previous to the burr. I have about 150 pounds of plates for that. Some curling bars that I made out of old York dumbbells that had bent handles. This is a York set, would have been from about 1948 with the very rare York long collars. This is the first York wrenchless collar you see here, and the first York plates, which don't even say York on them, but they say 10A, which means the size, and they were all York ones. The bottom over there are some 75-pound dumbbells, solid steel, that I had in my gym back in the 80s and 90s, and those were some that my good buddy Neil Safford provided for me. He was able to get to acquire quite a few of those when that gym closed, and so I inherited the 75s.
You use those all the time, right?
Oh yeah. Two hands with one dumbbell. And the dip bars are modern, but they're the kind I like, that are the V-dip bars. And then you see the globe dumbbells over there. These go from 5 pounds on up. I have the good dumbbells up to 25s. And the rest of them are a combination of Yorks, generics, and Jackson. And I have them up to 70 pounds, and then over here I have some duplicates in the Jackson bars. And then these I had set up with the York pancake plates. I like the thick reader handles. And a pair of scale weights under there. They're 50 pounds. They're kind of neat to play around with. And up here is a York crusher set. These are pretty rare, but they're very good exercise for the pecs. And that's basically my gym. And so welcome to the gym and the museum. I'd like to thank my producer, director, camera person, Misty BonDurant, my daughter, for her help in producing this, and I hope it's been enjoyable and entertaining. Thank you very much.